Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started, and then we might have a few stragglers. I know Ryan and Allie are both teaching some classes right now, so they're going to be in the next 5 or 10 minutes. So they will be here, so after, if you want to talk to them about something, they'll be here. And then we have Kathy here and Donna here. So welcome teams in the second session. Lindsey from Hy-Vee is going to be doing a presentation today. And so if you have questions, she might ask throughout the presentation, but hold if you have any other random questions, and I know Donna's team's been thinking of some good ones. At the end, she will leave some time for some questions, okay? Otherwise, enjoy. We are going to be recording this session, so if you have any friends that didn't make it, let us know so we can get that information to them. Okay? So welcome. Let's thank Lindsey for spending the Saturday with us.
Well, thank you guys for having me. My name is Lindsey Koelling. I'm the dietitian for Hy-Vee here in Jefferson City. And this is Karen Knight. She's a dietetic intern, so she's studying to be a dietitian. And she is done after next week. And then she will be able to sit for her exam, and then she'll be a dietitian. So, yay! Love you guys in the field. So, Karen's going to be helping me with part of the presentation today. But we're going to be talking about healthy grocery shopping. Okay? Is healthy grocery shopping easy? No? Why is it hard? What are some things that make grocery shopping for healthier foods hard for us to do?
There's such conflicting information about what's good or what'll get you.
That's perfect answer. We hear one day eggs are good, one day eggs are bad. One day real butter's good, one day real butter's bad. One day we want whole milk, the next day we want skim milk. Okay, so we get a lot of varying information. Okay, so that's a good one. What else makes it hard for grocery shopping?
Reading all the labels.
All the label readings. There are over 50,000 products in a grocery store, maybe more. And almost each one of those has a nutrition label. So it takes a long time to read those nutrition labels, and they're kind of complicated. They're a little harder to read. There's a lot of information on them. So that one definitely does. Makes it a little harder. What else?
They're not always complete, especially like with food allergies. They don't always tell you everything.
Food allergies can be hard, so it makes it longer to shop. Okay, so we have to label reading again. It makes it very hard. What about time? Who has 30 minutes to run into the grocery store before their kid has to be at the next practice or they have to be at their next meeting? So we're trying to do fast grocery shopping. So when we're going fast, what are we normally picking? Something that sounds good at that time. You know where it's at. You know how to cook it. And it's quick. Yep. So are those always the healthiest choices? No. So sometimes that can get us. Time can be a big one. What else? Anybody plan their meals? Sometimes?
Trying to.
So if we don't plan our meals, does that make it hard to grocery shop healthy? Yeah? Because then what happens? Buy whatever sounds good. Something looks good, we're like, okay, we'll try that. Do we have a plan for it? Is it a healthier option than what something else might be? What's another one?
Price to eat out.
Price. Price can be a big one. Okay, price can make it hard to eat healthy. There are ways around that, and we do have one of the handouts kind of shows that. The price can be a hard one. What else?
For some things, there are so many varieties. It's like you're looking, you know.
Yeah, so many varieties. It's hard to pick which one. I think we had a hand in the back earlier. So those are all things. What about shopping when we're hungry? Did that make it hard to shop healthy? What looks good in the grocery store when we're hungry? Everything. Usually it's the higher calorie, higher fat items. Chips sound amazing. The donuts in the bakery look awesome that day. So it gets really hard that way. So what are some ways that we can shop healthy? What are some ideas or that you've heard as a way to shop healthy?
Don't show up hungry.
Don't come hungry, so make sure you have a good snack before you come.
Shop the perimeter.
Shop the perimeter. That's a great one. Why the perimeter? All the healthy stuff. So has anybody been to Hy-Vee? Okay. So what's in our perimeter? Produce, fruits and vegetables.
Dairy.
Meats, dairy. bakery, we'll talk about that one. So you have to watch where in the perimeter, but the perimeter is a great one. A lot of your more fresh items.
Make a list and stick to it.
Make a list and stick to it. So that way we have a plan that when we walk by that donut case, that's not on our list today. So we're going to make sure that we try to stick with something else that might be a little healthier. How else can we shop healthy? What are other tips we've heard to shop healthy? We had one last time, organic or non-organic. That's another one a lot of people get. Should I not? Okay, so that one can be kind of hard. We'll talk about that one a little bit later as well. Okay, so we said one of the best ways is to shop the perimeter of the store. Okay, so when we walk into Hy-Vee, where's the first place you end up? Produce. Okay. Forgot about Starbucks. Speaking of Starbucks, are there healthier options in Starbucks?
Yes.
What are those? Skinny? So what's in a skinny? What kind of milk? Skim milk. What kind of?
Not fat or not low sugar.
Low sugar or sugar-free options. The calories and fats go down quite a bit. So you can still have some of those things. But the other first one we walk into is the first big one. Produce. Okay. So when we shop in produce, what are some of the downfalls of us shopping produce sometimes? Are there any?
For me, buying too much.
Too much. So it might be that we're buying more than we're going to be able to use. Does anybody ever have the problem of going into the produce and buying the same 5 to 10 items every time? It's always bananas, carrots, lettuce, and tomatoes, apples. Okay. We always have those problems. Is it that we're in a hurry, we don't take time to make our list, and we forget about those other good fruits and vegetables that are in there? Is it that we're unsure how to cook those different fruits and vegetables? Is it that we're not sure how much of something we should get that we're going to be able to use before it goes bad? So all of those can play a role in how we choose our produce. So making sure that we're trying new ones, new produce, new fruits, new vegetables. So it might be that this week we decide we're going to try kale. Anybody tried kale before? A couple, good. Has anybody tried eggplant? How about jicama? So there's those ones we don't always hear about. So sometimes we don't try them because we don't know how to prepare them or we don't know how to pick them. Is it red, blue, pink, yellow, orange, green, brown? What color is it supposed to be? Okay, that can be a really hard one. Our produce guys, at least at Hy-Vee, I will tell you, are very good about helping to pick out whether a fruit or vegetable is ripe, how to know it's ripe, what it looks like. So if you have questions when you're in our produce department, pull your produce guide. How do I pick this out? Most of them are very, very good about that. You can have them page me. I can help you. I'm usually there. Okay. If you're looking for new ways to cook those fruits and vegetables, we have 2 chefs on staff. So you can definitely ask for their opinion on the best way to cook it. Or again, I can find recipes for you. But getting a wide variety of fruits and vegetables, high water content, high fiber, low calorie. Okay, so they're great ways to add to our different meals that are going to add a lot of nutrition. So try to get a wide variety of produce. Okay, all produce is good. Maybe that you do. So what's another department we're going to hit when we hit the perimeter of the store? Meat. Everybody only buys lean meat, right? Lean protein. What are sources of lean protein? Chicken. Chicken, boneless, skinless chicken. That's a great one. Fish. That's another great lean meat. What else? Turkey. That's a good one. Pork. Pork, what kinds of pork?
Tenderloin.
Loin. Good, your tender loin. What about our beef, our red meat?
Sirloin.
Sirloin, so we're talking about loin again. What's the other words we can look for on labels on the red meat? There's one other word, loin and... Look on your your 29 lean cuts of lean beef. The first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. First 5 use those 2 words, sirloin or round. If you see those 2 words, you're going to know that those are lean sources of protein. Now we said turkey. If I gave you a package of ground turkey and it said 80-20, and I gave you a package of ground hamburger that said 93-7, which one do we want to choose?
Hamburger.
Good job. Why? It's lower than 93.7. That's 93% lean to 7% fat. A lot of times it gets a common misconception that just because it says turkey or chicken, it's automatically better for us. Sometimes that is the case. You can see up here that the boneless, skinless chicken breast is the leanest of the even out of the red meats. Okay, so it's going to be leaner. But we want to make sure that we're incorporating lots of varieties. Our red meats are great sources of iron. Our heme iron are the ones that our body converts the easiest. Okay? So we'll make sure we're getting a wide variety. What about our fish? What types of fish do we want to look for? Salmon. Another tuna. Why do we say those 2 normally pretty quick? Salmon or tuna? Omega-3s, perfect. They have those good healthy fats in them that are great for an anti-inflammatory. They're heart healthier. So we want to look for the salmon and tunas that have a lot of those good pink color to them. And I mean, they're a little bit higher in those healthy oils. That's a good one. What about tilapia, catfish? That's a common one around here. What's some other ones you guys have tried? Cod, halibut. Okay, all those whitefish, still great ways to get a lean source of protein in. So it's not that we don't want to do those. They're still good choices. Now, do we want to bake them or fry them? Bake, absolutely. And so baking, broiling, and grilling our meats are going to be the leaner ways to cook them.
Don't cover them up with bread and good stuff.
No, yeah, we don't want to cover them up with spreading. We don't want to fry them. We don't want to add a bunch of high sodium or high salt seasonings to them. So what other departments do we have besides meat in our program? Dairy. Dairy good, dairy bad?
Good.
Good.
Very cold.
Very cold. It is cold over
It
there.
is cold over there.
Very cold. So dairy is a good addition to our diet, especially for women. Bone health is very important, especially as we age. We want to make sure we get lots of calcium, lots of vitamin D. So what are some low-fat dairy products we can do? Skim milk.
Almond milk.
Almond milk. That's another low-fat dairy one.
Low-fat yogurt.
Low-fat yogurt. It's a great one.
Cottage cheese.
Cottage cheese, a low-fat cottage cheese. What's another one you might find over in the dairy department? I heard someone say it. Cheese. What kind of cheese are we looking for? 2%? 2% cheese is a good one to look for. Those are all going to decrease the amount of fat that you have in your diet. Now, when we looked on a nutrition label, we said this was kind of hard to understand, isn't it? There's a lot of information on here. There's serving size, calories, fat, sodium, carbohydrates, protein, vitamins, and minerals. So when we look at a nutrition label, where do we want to start? What's the first thing we want to look at? Serving size. Why do we want to look at serving size first? Portion control. That's a great one.
Plus you need to know if you're looking at how many grams everything's in there, if it says the serving size is a quarter cup and you know you're going to eat a half a cup, then you
Good.
know how to calculate it.
Perfect. So that tells us what we have to do to the rest of the ingredient or the nutrition label based on how much we're going to eat or how many servings. So we want to start with 1 serving. Or look at the serving. Know what a serving is. Okay? So for dairy, a serving is 1 cup of milk. Okay? That is a serving. Now, when we look at the rest of the ingredients or the nutrition label, you guys ever looked at the percentages on the side? Yeah. What are those percentages? Percent of our daily needs based on how many calorie diet? 2,000. Do we all eat a 2,000 calorie diet? No. Some of us, these numbers might be skewed a little bit. Okay? So if we're eating a 1,500 calorie diet, these numbers are going to be a little bit low. Okay, they're going to get higher. We need 2,500, they're going to be a little bit low. Okay, so they're going to adjust based on how many calories we need. Now, when we look at the percentages, 5% or less is considered low. 20% or more is considered high. So that can give you a good guideline, just a quick reference. If I look at these green beans have fat 0 grams or 0%. So that's low. If I had one that had 10%, low or high? Medium. 19%? High. Okay. Now, so things like fat, cholesterol, sodium, do we want those closer to 5% or closer to 20%? 5%. Okay. Those aren't as healthy for us. Now, what about fiber, protein, vitamins, and minerals? Higher. We want those higher because those are going to be better for us. So we'd like to see those closer to those 20%. And this can be a great place to look in your dairy department to compare your yogurts or your cheeses, things like that, to see the fat content, how much sodium's in them. Anybody ever looked at the sodium on cottage cheese? It's really, really high. It's like 500 milligrams or more in one serving of cottage cheese. Okay. So that could be a lot. So that could be one area where if we're watching our sodium, that might be a little bit high for us. And Kara's going to talk about sodium here in a little bit as well. So she'll give us some more tips on that. So we want to make sure we're sticking with low-fat items. So looking for our skim milk, low-fat yogurt, 2% cheeses, things like that. Now, what if we do whole milk instead of 1%? I hear all the time, skim milk tastes like water. You might have that problem. Yeah.
Not when you get used to it.
Now, it takes a while to get used to it, but once you are used to it, it's hard to go back. Try mixing your milks for a while. Mix a 2% with a 1%. Slowly decrease your 2%, increase your 1%. Then once you're used to the 1%, get accustomed to it, start doing that same process with the skim milk until you're down to the skim milk only. Okay? So that sometimes helps us adjust our taste a little bit more. What else is on the perimeter of our store? Toilet paper. What? Toilet paper. Get it? Health food department. Okay. Has anybody ever been in the health market? There's some good stuff over there. It can be a little intimidating at first because there's a lot of things that we're not familiar with. If you have an allergy, the health market is a great place to find some allergen-friendly foods. It's a great place to find some of your almond milks, rice milks, hemp milks, things like that. Has anybody ever tried almond milk, soy milk, rice milk? Okay. Do you guys like them? Yeah. They're good ones to add. So when you look at those labels, make sure they're adding calcium and vitamin D back to those. There are some varieties that don't have the calcium or the vitamin D added to them. Okay, so make sure you're getting those that do include that. You're going to see a lot of organic and all natural items in the health market. Nutritionally, as far as calories, protein, vitamins, and minerals, is there a difference between organic and regular? No. Okay. Organic apple, regular apple, same calories, same vitamins and minerals, same protein. Okay. They've done studies on it. Same nutritionally. The difference is the growing process and whether they're allowed to use chemicals or not. Okay. The certification to become organic takes quite a process. They have to go through several years to make sure that their soil isn't contaminated with any herbicides or pesticides. There's no cross-contamination from another field. So they have a long process. So organic does have some backing. They don't use GMO products, genetically modified We've heard that a little bit more in the news lately. They don't a lot of times use pesticides or herbicides. Dairy products, they don't add any extra hormones to the dairy products, the dairy cows. Okay, so there's some different processes. Now, with that being said, again, nutritionally, the same.
I did read one study where they said that they did a study of foods that were grown with fertilizers, like non-natural fertilizers versus organic foods that were grown without, and that the size, maybe the size of the particular vegetable was larger versus that was non-fertilized, non-artificially fertilized, and that the nutrient density was higher in the non-fertilizer. The fertilizer actually makes the vegetable grow bigger, but kind of artificially the nutrients are less dense.
It could be a little bit that they're spread out a little bit more, but for the most part, they're pretty similar. If they're different, the difference isn't enough to say that organic by itself is better based on nutrition itself. Okay. Now, personal preference, that's where it's completely up to you guys. If you feel more comfortable with organic, by all means do it. If you don't, not something you have to. Okay. Now, organic has guidelines on what can be put on the nutrition label and what they can be using. All natural does not. Anybody ever seen the term all natural? Okay. A lot of times, what all natural means is the ingredient list goes from this long to this long. So one, it's easier to read. They're not adding a lot of extra preservatives and things to it. They're not using things like high fructose corn syrup. They're using regular sugar. So there can be some benefits to all natural, but do realize that all natural does not mean organic. It can be a good place to find some items that don't have as much stuff added to them. Especially if you have an allergy, that can be a good one. All right. So when we're shopping through the store, we want to look for healthier options. Try some new produce. Look for leaner meats. Look for low-fat dairy. If we have an allergen, try to find someone in the health market. Now, what about the bakery? Avoid. Can you find healthier options in a bakery? Sometimes. You've ever heard of the whole wheat breads? Whole grain, yep. So some of those are available. What about donuts? No. We want to avoid those. We don't want to do them as often. But if I told you you could never have a donut again, what's the first thing you want? A donut. Okay. So those things, we don't want to completely necessarily eliminate them from our diet completely, because part of a healthy diet is incorporating all types of foods. Okay? It just might mean that we're not doing a donut every single day. Maybe we're doing it one day this week, and that's it. Okay? So that's where moderation comes into play a lot. Really watching our serving sizes of those, not overdoing them. Now we said whole wheat bread. If I gave you a package of bread that said wheat bread and a package that said whole wheat bread, is there a difference?
Yes.
Which one do we want to look for? Whole wheat. Why?
It's not been processed.
I've been processed. Does anybody know what the first ingredient on wheat bread is? It's enriched bleached flour, which is white flour. Okay. It's still called wheat bread because it's made from wheat, which it is. But we want to look for the words whole or 100%. That means that they're not using the bleached flour, they're not refining it.
If that's true, is it normally listed first
It'll say whole wheat or whole whatever grain they're using.
before they list all the other ingredients?
So the first one be whole whatever grain.
What about multi-grain?
Multi-grain, that's a great question. Is there a difference between whole wheat and multi-grain bread?
Yes.
There can be. Multi-grain just means that they're using more than just wheat itself. They might be using wheat, buckwheat, aramis, quinoa in the bread. We just want to still make sure that whatever grain they're using, the first word on that ingredient list is whole. So whole whatever grain. But multi-grain is a great way to get another option in for you. Still want to make sure it's whole. Now, when we get to the center aisles, does it get a little more complicated? Usually perimeter aisles, we're pretty good about knowing kind of what we need to be sticking with. Do we always stick with it? No, not necessarily. But we kind of know that we want more fruits and vegetables, we want leaner meats, we want low-fat dairy. But once we get to the center aisles, it gets a little more confusing. So one of the nice things Hy-Vee has anybody heard of the Nuval system before? Some yeses, some no's? Nuval is an independent company, so it's not something that that's Hy-Vee's own separate entity. It's a scoring system of 1 to 100. They use an algorithm or an equation. So, in a grade in school, do we want ones or do we want 100s? We wanted 100s. We want that same thing with our food. Okay, we want to look for those foods that are 100s. Now, what foods do you think are 100s? Broccoli. So probably our fruits and vegetables, blueberries. Okay. You'll see right up here, this here has a price tag, looks like a price tag. Shows the price on one side, the 91 that's on this tag is the Nuval score. So that's how you'll see it on our pricing labels. Now, do you want to compare fruits and vegetables to like cereal? Why? Why not?
Apples and oranges.
Apples, yeah, apples and oranges, exactly. We want to look at the Nuval scores as food groups, okay? Because fruits and vegetables are going to be close to 100 naturally. We want those good things in them. Cereals, not so much. The average there is high 20s to low 30s. Okay? So if you found a cereal that was a 32, that might be high for a cereal. If we had a vegetable that was a 32, what do you think they've added to it? Sugar. So what else besides sugar would bring down the score or make it less healthy for us? Sugar, what else? Sodium.
Covered in yogurt.
So maybe they're using a high-fat yogurt, so the fat content can decrease the score. So what are some things that would increase the score or make it healthier for us? Which what?
Additional vitamins.
More vitamins and minerals. What else was on the nutrition label that we said we wanted higher percentages of? Protein, fiber. Those things help to increase the score. So back to cereal, what do you guys think the highest number in the cereal aisle is? So the average was 20s to 30s. 40 to 50? Actually, it's a 91. That would be the unsweetened shredded wheat. Yummy, right? Yeah. If you like that one, great. Most people I tell it to and they're like, That's okay. The sweetened shredded wheat is a 55. Okay, so what happens if we were to combine the 91 and the 55? What do you think our score would be? 70s probably. We're going to get an average. So that's one way where Nuval, maybe you don't like necessarily the highest Nuval score of that food, but you don't really want the lowest one either. So how can you modify that food to make it a little bit healthier and a higher Nuval score? So that's one way. You can mix your cereals. One that might be a little bit lower with a higher one, so you get more of an average. Do you think you could do that with soups? If I gave you a can of soup that was a 15, what's some way that you could increase that Nuval score? Add vegetables. Those are hundreds, so those are automatically going to skyrocket your score. What else? Add some chicken to it, a lean protein source that might be a little higher in protein. Good. What about adding a whole grain to it? Adding a high whole grain to maybe increase the score. So there's ways that we can take the Nuval score as it is and also modify it to make it even better for some of the products that we like. Now I will say that Nuval has actually changed their algorithm and they've made it even better. So over the next couple of years, you're going to see a lot of changes in the scoring. So you might look at your favorite product one day and it might score a 20. And the next day you're going to look at it and it scores a 5. Okay? It could be that the food company has changed their recipe. So maybe they've added more sugar, more fat, more salt to it. Or it could be that the algorithm has changed, and this is where it's going to get a little tricky for a while for people. It could be that the algorithm's changed and they've gotten to that food group, and they're now looking at things, instead of clumping fats as one group, they're separating them out. Because which fats do we want to avoid? Trans fat, that's another one. Saturated fat. Which are the better fats for us? Unsaturated or polyunsaturated or monounsaturated fats. Those are a little bit healthier for us. So that's going to affect the score depending on the difference in fat that's in there. They're also going to start taking into account artificial sweeteners. They're going to look at the glycemic load of those. So before, artificially sweetened products didn't have any sugar added to them, which bumped up their score. But now they're going to start taking that into account on how it truly affects the body, and they're going to actually, it's probably going to decrease the score a little bit. Okay? So yay, no more ice creams that are 100. I say yay, you guys are like, oh. Because there are a couple that are 100s, and we don't really want those, because is it a true 100? Probably not. But that's where the artificial sweetener is going to be taken into account now. So you're going to be seeing some fun changes with this. So be watching those scores. So this can be a way, especially if you're in a hurry. We said being in a hurry or shopping quick can affect our healthy choices. This is one way that if we're shopping fast, all we have to do is look at that number. Find a better option really quick, try that one instead.
Is there a quick answer to how the artificial sweeteners actually affect our body?
Right now, artificial sweeteners are on the generally recognized as safe list. Okay, that's what the government puts out. Now, I will also say that trans fats used to be on that same list. Now, are trans fats on that list anymore? No, they're going to eliminate them completely. So, that's where nutrition isn't black and white. Okay, nutrition changes over time. So, right now, I'm going to tell you they're fine. Because nutritionally, that's what we know. 20 years from now, we don't know. Okay? So that's where trying to stick more with your whole foods, your good healthy options, rather than just going with an artificially sweetened one. Okay? And sugar-free doesn't mean calorie-free. A lot of times that's a common misconception. Another way, if we're really in a hurry, anyone seen this before? Does anybody remember the food pyramid? The My Pyramid is what it changed to. Now it's changed to the My Plate. Okay, so this is what we want our plate to look like. And in the true picture, you'll also see a little glass that has dairy next to it. Okay, so this is what we want our plates to look like. So half of our plates what? Fruits and vegetables. So if we're planning our meal, we already know half of our plate needs to be fruits and vegetables. So we need to make sure we have those. Quarter of our plate is what?
Protein.
What kind of protein? Lean. Quarter of our plate are grains. What kind of grains? Whole. And then the dairy, what kind of dairy? Low fat. Good job. Questions?
But I was told by somebody that if you eat fruit with your meal, it's not as effective or nutritional than if you eat it after or standalone.
If you eat fruit by itself, it's going to affect your blood sugar a little bit more because it has those good natural sugars in them than if you would eat it with something else. But as far as absorption goes, there's things that can hinder and help absorption of different products or foods. Calcium, you guys ever see vitamin D added with it? We said that with the artificial milks or the rice milks. Vitamin D helps with the absorption of calcium. Iron, vitamin C helps with the absorption of iron. Okay, so that could be if you have an orange with your food, your iron's going to be absorbed better. So not necessarily that they won't get absorbed, but maybe it'll help absorb something else better. Now on this plate, is this serving size or portion size? What's the difference between portion and serving? Who chooses a portion size? We do. We do. Who decides what a serving size is?
You do.
Serving sizes are what's the standard recommended amount. Okay, so did we choose this? No. This is a standard. Okay, our choice. I wonder if these markers work. If we made our plate look, oh, that would just work. Sad. Try this one. Protein and carbs or grain. Is that serving or is that portion? Portion. We decided that, didn't we? Okay, so this actually shows serving size of things. Is it okay if we have more than one serving sometimes? Yeah, what do we need to make sure we're doing if we're increasing our serving sizes? What do we need to be doing? Exercise. Good, you guys are doing that with your trainers, right? So as we're eating more, we need to make sure we're exercising more to get that good balance between what we're doing and how much we're eating. Okay, so we want to make sure, and this can really help with that. This can show us what true serving sizes are supposed to look like. Rather than the portions that sometimes we end up putting on our plate, sometimes our portions grow. And Kara's going to talk to us a little bit about portion distortion and how those serving sizes get larger and larger and we don't realize it.
Has anyone ever heard the phrase portion distortion? Does anyone know what it means? Those are all good. Portion distortion means that we are being served more than what the actual serving size is. For example, Subway, you think that it's healthy, but they advertise the $5 footlong. Is the $5 footlong a portion?
No.
Yes.
Yes. The serving size is a 6-inch, but they're advertising as the whole footlong, so we eat the whole portion, so it's called portion distortion. Okay. And some common products that I brought are portion distortion. For example, canned vegetables, any canned foods, is green beans. When you serve a can of green beans to your family, how much do you eat? You eat the whole can yourself, half a can?
Third.
A third. Okay, how many servings do you think, serving size, are in an actual can of green beans? 3.5. Okay, and when you do buy canned products, what other things do you want to look for to make sure you want to monitor? Salt. Okay, good. Okay, and you want to stay around 2,300 milligrams of salt per day. And in a serving size of a can of green beans, this is serving size, the half a cup is 290 milligrams. So if you're like me, whenever I eat a can of vegetables, I eat half a can myself, that's 507 milligrams of sodium. So ways to improve that with your portion distortion is to opt for the no salt added version, which is the same serving size, half a cup, and this has 20 milligrams per half cup, but if you did eat the half a can, it's only 35 milligrams. So 507 versus the 35.
Now, is it okay to have portion distortion sometimes on fruits and vegetables? Yeah. But we don't want to have portion distortion on our sodium content. We'll make sure we're watching.
And frozen vegetables have no sodium added. No sodium at all. Okay. And these are on sale at Hy-Vee for $29. Go stock that when you can. Okay, the next item is again another canned food, chicken noodle soup. When you eat chicken noodle soup, do you eat half a can, the whole can? Whole can. Okay, how much serving size do you think is in a can of chicken noodle soup? 2.5. Okay, and the half cup serving size there is 900 milligrams of sodium. And what are we wanting to stay around for sodium? So if you did eat this whole can like most of us do, there is 2,250 milligrams of sodium. So ways to improve that with your portion distortion is to opt for the 25% less sodium, which still, as a can, food has sodium, a lot of sodium in it, but it's 660 milligrams per half cup. So if you did double, like half or the whole can, you're going to get your whole day's worth of sodium also on this one. So what are ways that you can eat soup and monitor your sodium intake?
Make your own.
Make your own, okay? There is low sodium broth that you can get in the stores. You can add, your whole wheat noodles, whole grain noodles with it, and your boneless chicken, and then your fresh vegetables, and put it in the crock pot all day. Okay? And I also brought this one here. Progresso is advertised as heart healthy. How many servings, when you bring this to work to eat for lunch, do you eat the whole can? Half a can? Okay, there's 2 servings in this can. For one serving, there is 470 milligrams of salt. So when you eat this whole can, there's about 900 milligrams of sodium. Okay. Any questions regarding
So is the
cans?
sodium though, I mean, I know it's like a bad thing heart-wise or what have you, but does it really contribute to the calories?
No.
It doesn't contribute to calories, however, it can increase water weight, because where salt goes, fluid follows. So if you have a high sodium food, you ever notice the next morning you're really thirsty? Okay, so you're gonna be drinking more. That way when you weigh in here, you might have some water weight, where it's not true weight gain.
The next food I brought for portion distortion is cereal. Now, how many of us eat cereal for breakfast? Okay. How much cereal do you pour into a bowl? This is an average bowl that we have at home. This whole bowl here is 20 ounces. So what do you think a serving size is of cereal? 8 ounces, 1 cup right here. Okay. How can you improve eating cereal? If you're going to eat cereal, how can you bulk it up?
Fresh fruit.
Some fresh fruit. Or you can also opt for cereals that have fiber and protein in them. And I brought a couple. And like Lindsey mentioned earlier, here is the yummy shredded wheat. You can add your own fresh fruits to it. And this alone has 9 grams of fiber in it. Okay, and then Special K has a new one out. It's got 10 grams of protein. Same amount of protein as in an egg. Okay, any questions with cereal?
Sugars, how many sugars should you, when you're looking at a serving, stay under?
Stay under.
Sugar, you're not going to notice a percentage on the side because there really hasn't been guidelines set for how much sugar. The American Medical Association says less than 8 teaspoons of added sugar a day. And I say added. So that would be like if I had a bowl of cereal, I'd pour sugar on top of it. Now if I had a cereal that had fruit in it, she's got Raisin Brands here, is all of that added sugar? No. Fruit has a natural sugar in it called fructose. Okay, so you're going to get some natural sugars from that, which are okay. They're not added, so that doesn't count toward that 8 teaspoons of added sugar. What about milk? Anyone ever heard of lactose? That's the sugar that's found in milk. Okay, so that's a natural sugar. So when we look at, I like this one with kids a lot. You guys remember the cartons of milk in school? Milk cartons that we got? That's a serving, which is a cup. In white milk, there's 11 grams of sugar. Think any of that's added? No. In chocolate milk, an 8-ounce serving has 22 grams. So how much of that is added sugar? 11 grams. Okay. Now a fun way to convert that to teaspoons, divide it by 4. Okay, so how many teaspoons is that? Almost 3. Yeah, 3 teaspoons. So that gets us halfway to our 8 teaspoons a day already from that little thing of chocolate milk. Okay, so really trying to limit the amount of added sugar is the best.
Is there a way to do like some kind of conversion if you were to add salt to your food? So you got some kind of vegetable that didn't have salt, like frozen vegetables, but you wanted to put some salt on your food?
2,300 milligrams is almost 1 teaspoon. Okay, so your whole day's needs for salt is under a teaspoon of added salt. So you can kind of use that as a guideline. Using salt alternates or like a Mrs. Dash, the sodium-free one, using fresh herbs or spices instead of salt to add flavor to things.
Is there a difference between like sea salt and regular table salt?
That's a great question. We had that one last time too. Difference between sea salt and regular salt. As far as sodium content, not really. A little bit, but not a lot. People like the sea salt though because it's thicker, it's bigger granules, so they feel like you taste it more. You see it more, so you might not add as much to it. So if that helps you reduce the amount of salt you add to something, great. But anytime you can eliminate the sodium and add fresh herbs or spices, it's going to be a little bit better.
I've read some things recently about like making smoothies and different things and adding chia seeds. Are those, is that good?
Do you guys remember, has anyone heard of chia seeds? I guess I should ask first. Has anyone heard of chia pets? Chia seeds are the what they used to use for chia pets. Same thing. But they are a source of omega-3s, so similar to flaxseed or the oils that you're going to find in your salmon or your tuna. So it's a great way to add some omega-3s. So chia seeds is a great addition.
Do you have to get the benefit from the omega-3s from flaxseed or chia seeds, you have to grind them?
The flax seeds you do, chia seeds you do not. Flax seeds you do have to grind it. Your body cannot break down the whole seed itself. So you do need to make sure you get the ground or milled, or use a coffee grinder and grind up your own if you'd rather buy it in seed form. Do make sure you refrigerate it if it's already ground and you open the package, or if you grind it yourself, because it is a fat, so it will go rancid on you.
Can you speak a little bit about sugar versus honey versus raw honey versus all the different things that are out there?
There's a lot of different types of sugar out there, isn't there? You guys have probably heard of agave nectar lately. Honey's a big one. Evaporated cane juice, sugar, brown sugar. Really, sugar is sugar. Okay? It's going to add calories no matter what form you use, so really watching portion sizes of it. Agave nectar is promoted more for a lower glycemic index food. So if you're looking for that benefit, it might be one. But really watching portion sizes on those. Okay? Then we process pretty similar in the body. If by using an agave nectar, if you think it's a little bit sweeter and you use less of it, great. If that's a way for you to decrease the amount of sugar you use, don't hesitate to do it.
Can you talk a little bit about what relative proportions of like starchy vegetables versus green leafy vegetables? What's
Good.
the rule of thumb for that?
For starchy vegetables, a lot of times people will move their starchy vegetable to the grain portion and then do a non-starchy vegetable over here, which is fine to do. So your starchy vegetables are like your potatoes, your corn, your peas. We really don't want to overdo those serving sizes because they're very similar to breads and pastas, is they're higher carbohydrate content. So if you want to put those in your grain section, that can be a way to realize a serving size of those starchy vegetables too. Good question. Other questions? Okay, what's your next? I think she had one more.
Yes. Have you heard of the books Eat This, Not That?
Pasta.
Oh yeah, I can do the pasta.
Pasta's kind of a fun one.
Okay. Whole wheat pasta from Hy-Vee. There are 6.5 servings in this pasta here. What do you think is the serving size for pasta? A cup? Okay. It's 2 ounces. Okay. And I have in here, this is a 2-ounce muffin.
You've ever made muffins before?
Yeah.
This is a serving of cooked pasta. Cooked pasta. So, does that look pretty close? That is a serving. Now, is that maybe the correct portion for us? If we're exercising a lot and we need some more carbohydrates, a lot of exercising, this portion size or serving size might not be right for us. But this is what a true serving size looks like. How do our pasta serving sizes look? Maybe 5 or 6 of these. Go ahead and do that.
That's good to know. Thank you.
So what are some ways that they can increase or decrease their portion size?
Have you ever tried spaghetti squash? Spaghetti squash. Okay, you can use that instead of your noodles, or if you wanted to mix them half and half, that can help decrease your portion size. Also, if you're using your pasta as a main dish or even as a side dish, bulking it up with vegetables, adding tomatoes, zucchini, broccoli, and it can help bulk it up.
More sauce than noodles, huh?
Think what kind of sauce you're using.
But with lots of vegetables.
Lots of
and
vegetables,
sauce,
there you go.
yeah, zucchini and
Perfect.
all that.
Yep.
That's a shocker on the portion. I've never heard that.
Yeah, that's where the portion distortion kind of kicks in. So we think a lot about foods that we eat. Do we always think about what we drink? No. Drinks can add a lot of calories very fast. And Sarah's got a couple she's gonna.
I have a book called Drink This, Not That, and I have 2 examples. How many of you used to drink regular soda or drink regular soda now? Okay. You need that 3 o'clock caffeine fix. So what do you think an actual serving size of soft drinks is? 8 ounces? About 8 ounces.
Cans. Yeah. Those little cans are around 8 ounces. Yeah.
Yes. The little cans are around 8 ounces. You get them in the store, little 6-packs, I think. Those are 90 calories. What are you seeing when you are in the store or going through the drive-thru? What are they offering you? Are they offering you 8 ounces or is it 44? 44 ounces. That's another portion distortion. In a 20-ounce bottle, the ones that you see in the gas station, a regular soda has 240 calories. So just think if you did go for the 44 ounce, it's almost a meal just in a beverage. And the next one is McDonald's iced coffee or iced latte. Which one do you think is better? Iced coffee. It's actually the iced latte. The latte, you can order it with sugar-free syrup. You can order it with no cream, no dairy. You can just order it with the sugar-free options versus the iced coffee, which they serve with cream and sugar.
So that's how asking how things are prepared, especially when you're eating out. A lot of times we think in our head, how would we make iced coffee at home? We get a cup of ice, pour the coffee in it, right? That's how we're thinking it's prepared. That's not always how restaurants do things. They a lot of times are going to add the creamers, the sugars, more fat for way things are prepared. And so in that instance, the latte was better because all it had in it was the milk and the coffee. It wasn't all the extra creams and sugars in it. A fun one we like to do with kids, and we're actually teaching some classes now at the schools, talking about portion distortion. Going back to the soda a little bit, in 1950, a serving size of soda was 12 ounces. So if you went to a restaurant, they would serve you a 12-ounce soda. Okay. What did you guys say the average was today? When you go to a restaurant, what do you get? Or you go to a gas station? 44. Actually, the average is around 48 ounces. Okay. Free refills, there you go.
Now, I don't generally get ice in mine, but aren't most sodas, when you get those Mambo things, a lot of that's ice, isn't it?
It could be. It could be. But still portion size or serving size. So if we kept increasing at the rate that we've increased from 1950 until now on portion sizes of just soda, well, how much do you think a normal portion will be in 2050?
6 gallons.
If we continue to increase at the same rate, 192 ounces, which is equivalent to almost 3 2-liter bottles of soda. Does that sound like a lot?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think the 48 ounces in 1950 sounded like a lot?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where portion distortion, we get used to seeing those portion sizes, and we think that that's normal. And it's really not. So that's where things like this that can help to remind us what serving sizes truly look like can be a big help in getting better, healthy nutrition. Questions about anything we've talked about?
I think one of the questions that I received was the prepared meals like lean cuisine, etc. Can you talk a little bit about those?
Sure. Frozen meals are very popular. They're quick, they're easy. What's normally in a frozen meal? Sodium. Okay, that's a great answer. I wasn't expecting that one. Good job. What food groups? Carbs and protein. So what are we missing out? Fruits and vegetables. On the lean cuisines, smart ones, how many calories are in those meals?
Under 300.
Under 300. Okay, is that a little bit low for a lot of us on our meals? Yeah, that's going to be really low. So using those, if you're going to use them in moderation because of the high sodium content, like you guys said, which is awesome. But if you decide to do those for a meal, add a fruit or vegetable to it, add a yogurt. So look at your, whatever your frozen meal is and decide what food group is missing from that. And then add it back to it. To make it a complete meal. Because again, most of us, 200 to 300 calories is not enough. Especially if we're exercising regularly, moving around a lot. And looking for ones that, like lean cuisine, healthy choices. Those ones that include at least a little bit of vegetables in them. They use whole grains, they're using your lean meats. You don't see a lot of fried foods in them. You don't see a lot of gravies.
What about when you go to the store and you're buying lunch meat, which is, I know, heavier in sodium typically? I mean, do you advise against that, or I mean, is it okay to?
Lunch meats can be a great way to get a quick lunch in. Looking for ones that are low sodium. Now there is a difference between low sodium, lower sodium, and reduced sodium. Okay. Out of those three, we want to look for the word that says low sodium. Because to be called low sodium, it has to have 140 milligrams or less of sodium per serving. Okay, so we want to look for the term low. We look for something that says reduced or lower. It just means that it's lower than their normal product, which still might be better, but low sodium. There are a couple in our deli. Deluso has a couple low sodium. We have a low sodium turkey and low sodium ham.
Do you have a recommendation on spices? If you're trying to keep from adding salt and every time to things to get some seasoning, have you got a recommendation of any spices to put on your vegetables to give them a bit of flavor, but it not be a hot big skunk, scoop of butter or big hunk of butter, or to put a lot of salt on it? Something to just give it a hint of taste, a spice.
Can I email that to you?
Not make it bad.
I will email Ashley a couple handouts I have for some pairings for fish, chicken, meat, vegetables, things like that that'll have spice pairings for you. So Ashley can get that out to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I think I got one more question about the different diet programs.
Okay.
One being better than normal, like cinnamon, or the nutrition versus blah, blah, blah.
When you're looking at those different diet plans, try to find the ones that have the most balanced meals. Okay? We really don't want to eliminate food groups because we're eliminating good vitamins and minerals within those food groups. I'm not going to recommend one over the other per se, but again, look for ones that include lots of fruits and vegetables, not eliminating food groups.
We're not supposed to drink soda, like diet soda. What about the teas that have the artificial sweeteners? Are they just as bad as diet soda?
Diet soda not only has the artificial sweeteners, which again, currently recognized as safe, but they also dehydrate us. They have caffeine in them. A lot of your teas are going to have caffeine as well. So our body sometimes confuses thirst with hunger. So if we're dehydrated and not hydrating well with just water itself, our bodies are going to think they're hungry. We tend to overeat. So as much as we can get water itself, get back to tasting water again, realizing what water tastes like, because we're so used to having flavored drinks that a lot of times we forget what water actually tastes like. So if you're going to do a tea, looking for decaffeinated, unsweetened, ones like that. Okay, but try to stick with water a little bit more. Other questions? I love questions.
Can you talk a little bit about the different diets that are out there, whether it's a paleo diet or a gluten-free diet?
Gluten-free diet is a very popular one right now. If you do not have a gluten intolerance or celiac disease, gluten-free is not something you have to follow. Okay, a lot of gluten-free items are higher in fat, they're higher in sugar, they're higher in carbohydrates. Okay, just from the different types of grain they've had to use. So not something you have to do unless you have a true intolerance or celiac disease. Okay, so avoiding those. Paleo diet right now is a common one. You're going to hear, not a bad one. It reminds us to eat whole foods, to avoid the processed ones. But again, trying to stick with our good, healthy food groups. A lot of times when we decide to go on a certain diet plan, for one, a lot of times it changes a lot of things of what we're doing and we become overwhelmed. Long term, is it something we can stick with? Maybe, maybe not. So we need to look at that as well. Is it realistic for us? Is it realistic for our lifestyle, for what we're doing? Can we modify the recipes our family loves to work with that diet plan? Because if you fix something and your family will not eat it 10 times that you fix it, are you going to continue to try that? Unfortunately, probably not. And sometimes we miss out on good foods by doing that. But we need to make sure that whatever diet we try or are going to look into, we need to make sure, again, all the food groups, making sure it's realistic for us, and try not to eliminate food groups.
What about drinking alcohol?
Alcohol. That's a good question. We did have that one last time.
Heart healthy wine.
Heart healthy wine. Remembering that alcohol adds about 100 calories per serving. So that could be a 1 ounce shot of liquor is 100 calories, right around 100 calories. 4 to 5 ounces of wine is around 100 calories. Your light beers are around 100 calories for a 12 ounce bottle. So counting those into our daily calories of what we're consuming, not forgetting about them. Also recognizing that if you do a distilled liquor, a lot of times, what are you going to add to it? Soda.
Peanuts.
So really what those, watching portion sizes, a serving, a recommendation, 1 drink or less for women a day, 2 or less for men. We do sell these plates. These are reusable ones. So you can find these in our health market. If you want, or these are disposable, I'm sorry. If you want reusable ones, you can order them online. Look for the My Plate. But these can be a great starting point to remind us what serving sizes look like. And whether we have every food group at our meals or not.
You know, when you, and that shows serving size, but it doesn't, doesn't show that portion or that weight of that serving size. You know what I'm saying? I could stack 10 pieces of bread. Right? We all get creative.
So that's if I cook pasta.
That was just for pasta.
That is just for pasta. But realizing, so that would be about 1 slice of bread, not stacking stuff, so we're not having like 3 hamburger patties here. Use 1. If you want to stack any food group, stack your fruits and vegetables. And if you want to do more of those, go for it. High water, high fiber, low calorie.
When I eat lettuce, I like iceberg lettuce, but does it have anything in it?
Iceberg lettuce, unfortunately, is just water. You're not really getting a lot of the good nutrients that are going to be in your darker colored leafy green vegetables. So try to mix in your iceberg with spinach or romaine. Get some of those good colors.
What about like your protein shakes?
Protein shakes. What kind of protein shakes? Do you mean like a smoothie protein shakes, or you mean like?
There's so many out there. You have your Slim Fast, you have even your weight builders, mix that you do yourself, your Atkins. I mean, something that, people who are always on the go and just need to grab something quick that might be less calories and, just something.
Better option?
Yeah.
Good, yeah. Looking at protein powders and protein drinks, really watching, again, serving size, but also watching how much sugar is added. Some of those have a lot of sugar to them and a lot of calories, a lot more than we need. Especially the bars. Somebody ever look in the protein bar section?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, there's a ton. So really looking at the labels. If you're using it as a snack, you probably don't need more than a couple 100 calories as a snack. Okay. Does it have a lot of fat in it? Okay. What did we say? What percentage or less was low? 5. Okay, so try to look for that on the label. See, carbohydrates, you're going to see some of them are very, very high in carbohydrates. Your Cliff Bars are high. Your power bars, the ones that are for before and during, are very high carbohydrate, which if you're doing a lot of exercise, a lot of activity, if you're running a marathon, you want that good carbohydrates, that quick energy. But for most of us, we don't need those high carbohydrate ones. Okay, so looking for ones that aren't, and then finding some protein and fiber in them. Okay, again, using the percentages.
Can you talk about protein supplementing after workouts?
After workouts, making sure you're eating something after a workout is key. Okay, your body's rebuilding your muscles that you've used in the workout. You want to make sure though that when you're refueling after you work out, that you're not over refueling. Okay, if you're working out for 20 minutes and you have a peanut butter sandwich that has 700 calories in it, is that going to be a little bit too much? Yeah, you're still getting that protein in there from the peanut butter. You're getting some of those good, healthier fats. You're doing an all-natural one. So it can be good protein sources. But you want to make sure you're not overdoing for what you're working out. Chocolate milk can be a good recovery drink. Again, portion size. We said that it did have some added sugar to it, but it has protein. That added sugar is going to help rebuild the stores. The glycogen stores in your body that our body uses for energy fastest. It has carbohydrates in it. But you want to make sure you're getting good sources of protein. So maybe it's some turkey, some chicken, some tuna, some natural peanut butter. Nuts. Nuts can be a good one. Hard-boiled egg. Those can be a little bit better sources.
The hard-boiled egg situation, love them, have loved them all my life, but I've got a cardiologist that says a couple times a week is okay on the yolks. And I've heard other people say it really doesn't matter. Where are the studies now as far as that being a good, bad thing if you're trying to watch your cholesterol and you have heart issues?
Good question. If you have heart issues, eliminating the yolk as much as you can, sticking more with the egg whites. The yolk is where you're going to get your cholesterol. And so trying to do more egg whites. They do have egg beaters, which are just the egg whites that are already separated out for you. A lot of times they'll color in yellow, so they have a nice yellow color. But you can cook some of those up instead of a hard-boiled egg.
So the yolks are still considered evil, huh?
If you have high cholesterol.
If you have that issue.
Yeah, if you have that issue, I would recommend avoiding those, as not doing them as often. Still every once in a while is okay.
Every once in a while.
Yeah.
Steel cut oats versus regular oatmeal.
Versus what?
Instant.
Versus instant. Instant steel cut rolled oats. Has anybody tried steel cut?
Yes.
Do you guys like them?
Love them.
Love them. They have a little bit different texture than the rolled oats. They're not kind of that slimy texture that sometimes oatmeal gets, or that weird texture. So that can be great. Really with oatmeal, making sure that you're not getting the ones that are pre-sweetened, have the fruit pieces added to it. So you see like the peaches and cream, the strawberries and cream one. Those pretty much just added sugar to it. So if we made a rolled oats or an instant oatmeal that was just the oatmeal itself, how could we sweeten that without adding sugar? Or how could we make it? Fruit, that's a good one to add. What else?
Cinnamon.
Cinnamon, that's a great one to add. So again, you're adding your spices or your whole foods that are adding that flavor rather than sugar. So steel cut or regular oats, both great. Great for helping to lower cholesterol, soluble and insoluble fibers. So good ones. Other questions? All of them? All right. Well, we will stick around afterwards. If you guys have more questions, you're welcome to come up and ask us. I won't be here for a little bit yet. If anybody get handouts, make sure you grab them. Business cards, you need one.
So you will